I'm Riza Diaz, and this is One News Now. We begin tonight's newscast with a sad news. Fidel V. Ramos, the 12th President of the Philippines, has passed away at the age of 94. In a statement, the Ramos family has confirmed FVR's death and thanked the public for respecting their privacy. They add that the wake and funeral of the late former president will be announced soon. Now, to talk about the legacy of the late former President Fidel V. Ramos, we have political analyst Professor Edmund Tayo over the phone. Professor Tayo, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for joining us this evening, sir. First of all, what was your initial reaction to FVR passing?
Well, it's really sad. You know, the president has really introduced a lot to so much of what we know now as far as the Philippine government is concerned. In fact, so many of the reform measures that we still enjoy, in fact, were all passed during his time. Most notable, of course, was, well, the centralization law was passed in 1991, no, but it became implementable only when he became president in 1992. And what we know now as the PPP, or the public-private partnership, in fact, started during his time as a build, operate, and transfer law. The party list law, despite some limitations and misgivings that we have been started or legislated during his time, and so much more. No, so it's really sad that we'll see him pass. No, and he could have contributed to some other measures that we want to pursue, but it's his time.
Mm-hmm. Sir Edmund, with those that you've mentioned, how would you rate or how would you describe FVR as a head of state?
Well, he was really a standard setter, I should say. He's known and remembered, no, by many of those who worked with him as Mr. With this complete staff work. He's not the kind of president who's just going to leave so much with his staff. Is really hands-on, and that anything that's going to pass through Congress will definitely be reviewed by him. And he really contributed so much to the kind of policies that were enacted during his tenure. So it's really a presidency to remember. Take note also that he's the president after Cory Aquino. No, so during the Cory Aquino's time, of course, it was a transition after EDSA. But so much of the with these measures that more or less concretized, no, or cemented stability in Philippine government were all realized during his presidency.
Mm-hmm. Sir, what kind of legacy is FVR leaving?
Ang dami. I think that's why I mentioned at least the three notable that I've mentioned. In fact, siguro, ito na lang. It was during his time really that the need for system reform, no, has started. No, the debate as to whether we remain presidential or change to parliamentary and even unitary to federal. That's why I mentioned decentralization as a key measure. Actually started during his time. So there was so much debate, not only in government, not only between policymakers, but in the public itself. No, that so many reform measures, in fact, no, had to be debated by experts, by academics, and so on. So I'm inclined to think that he's the technocrat president, no, that we can remember in recent memory.
Sir, were you able to work personally with FVR, or at least maybe you've heard stories about him? Because we'd like to know, the person behind or beyond his political persona. How's he like?
Well, I unfortunately I did not work directly with him. I worked with this Speaker of the House of Representatives then, Speaker Jose de Veneza. My mother is from Pangasinan, so somehow there's some relation. That's what I was told before. So there were occasions that we met personally. And, when you meet the guy, he's really full of energy. And, he jokes around really, no? So much like just an ordinary person that you don't expect from a president, especially from a sitting president. So he's really a very jolly person. And it's easy that, you find yourself talking about substantive issues during the day, during his time. So it was really something to remember.
Definitely. And maraming salamat for sharing with us all those information and your insights. That was political analyst Professor Edmund Tayao.
Salamat.
Now, as the nation mourns his death, let's take a look back at the life of the late former President Fidel V. Ramos. The politician was born in Lingayen, Pangasinan on March 18, 1928. Growing up, he attended the U.S. Military Academy and the University of Illinois in the United States. In 1972, late former President Ferdinand Marcos Sr. appointed Ramos as Chief of the Philippine Constabulary after entering the Philippine Army. Almost a decade after, he became Deputy Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. Now, after the presidential elections in 1986, in which Marcos claimed the victory despite allegations of electoral fraud, Ramos switched votes and supported late former President Corazon Aquino. Now, during Aquino's term, he served as Military Chief of Staff and Secretary of National Defense. And not long after, Ramos was elected as new president of the country. Now, as head of state, he was known for his liberalization of economy, among others. His administration also succeeded in reaching peace agreements with two long-active guerrilla insurgencies, the New People's Army and the Moro National Liberation Front. Now, we'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The death toll from the major earthquake that hit northern Luzon last Wednesday continues to climb. The NDRRMC reports that fatalities have risen to 10, while over 300 individuals were wounded as of Sunday. More than 34,000 Filipinos have also been displaced, some 3,800 of whom are staying at evacuation centers. In total, over 300,000 Filipinos were affected by the quake. Infrastructure damage, meanwhile, has reached over 400 million pesos, while there are some 21,800 damaged houses. Meanwhile, Pagasa reports that Tropical Depression Esther exited the Philippine Area of Responsibility on Sunday morning. As of 11 a.m., Esther was last spotted 550 kilometers east of Itbayat, Batanes, outside the Philippine territory. However, the southwest monsoon or habagat is expected to bring rains in some parts of the country in the next 24 hours. Light to moderate to at times heavy rains will be experienced over Bataan, Zambales, Occidental Mindoro, and Palawan, while scattered rain showers are expected over NCR, Western Visayas, Calabarzon, Pangasinan, rest of Central Luzon, and Mimaropa. virtual studios are on the rise as the demand for special effects and computer-generated imagery, or CGI, get even higher. Let's take a look inside South Korea's new virtual production stage in this video.
With an increasing demand for VFX and CGI, virtual production has been steadily evolving. COVID-19 has also accelerated the adoption of this technology as more studios move away from traditional filming.
One of the reasons virtual studios recently received a lot of attention is because many production companies could not travel overseas or go on location to film.
Hollywood filmmakers, including ABC and Paramount Pictures, have already integrated this technology. And Sony built its first virtual production studio in Tokyo. So, how does this type of technology work? By integrating virtual background environments into live action footage, studios reduce the need for on-set production teams and crew members, which of course cuts production costs.
The virtual production stage is a production studio where you shoot with a floating background directly on the LED wall. It lets us produce not only movies and drama series, but also extended reality, commercials, and all kinds of other content.
A joint report by the British Film Institute and Arab says shifting to a virtual production environment can reduce carbon emissions from transport, which accounts for 51% of an average film production. Globally, the virtual production market was valued at $1.6 billion in 2021 and expected to reach nearly $6.8 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. North America so far has claimed more than a third of the market, but Asia Pacific is expected to grow. South Korean entertainment giant CJ E&M, known for hit K-dramas, launched its first virtual production stage in 2022.
Our VP stage is composed of more than 2,000 micro LED panels. We can create any scene, whether it's in the middle of the desert, the middle of the sea, or in outer space.
It's part of their growing investment in original content production following the success of Parasite and Squid Game.
Our goal is to use the CJ E&M Studio Center, where the virtual production stage is located, as a one-stop production base for all global K content. We're still in the very early stages of virtual production, and it's true that Hollywood studios are ahead of us in terms of technology, because they started first. We're working hard to catch up.
For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.